Oh, boys and girls, how we doing this afternoon? I'm trying to figure out exactly what to expect. Everyone's mood to be in here for our little pregame soiree here as we get ready for Game 5 between the Avalanche and the Dallas Stars. My name is Nate Lundy. That is Aniello, Piro. We are with Mile High Sports, Denver Stiffs. Let's see, what other brands? Colorado Preps. I don't know, Caesar Sportsbook. I spend a lot of time and money there. We're kind of sponsored by everybody.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that.
We are live, of course, with our great friends at number 38 in Rhino. If you are looking for a spot to come watch, here's what I'm going to tell you. Talking to you out there right now in digital land. Here's what I'm going to tell you. I would recommend watching tonight's game with us here. And here's why I say that. Okay. A couple of things have the potential of happening tonight. One, Nathan McKinnon goes all Nikola Jokic nuclear on everything.
That would be nice.
And forces a game 6. In which case, don't you want to be surrounded by people who are like-minded? I do. And so that's one reason you could be here. Here's the other reason. If it all goes to hell, you might as well drown your sorrows with some drink specials, some really good food, and a whole bunch of other hockey fans. Have I missed anything?
I don't think so. I mean, whichever way you slice it, I guess the one thing you did miss is, in today's world, 4-day work week, right?
Yes.
Tomorrow's the start of the pre-weekend. So it's already hump day. It's Wednesday,
You and Kim Becker
roll
with this
over to
BS.
Thursday.
And Kim, if you're watching right now, which she's not, because I think she's part of the pregame show. But
she's drinking
on
Dr.
TV.
Pepper and pickle. Did you see that today?
Yes, she's weird.
That sounds scary.
I don't trust her. I don't trust her in so many different ways. But here's the thing. Kim always does this thing. Happy Friday, Junior. When did that happen? When all of a sudden did I have a different name for Thursday?
It's the pre-weekend, baby. But it's the lead up for the weekend.
A pre-weekend.
The pre-weekend. I actually heard that in Succession, the TV show. So
I thought you were going to start talking about your Preakness picks. That's where I thought that sentence was going. And then you did something totally different.
No, hey, man, it's never a bad idea to come out to number 38. We're broadcasting live out here on the patio. It's actually a gorgeous day as we're getting ready for this game. And, the one time that I would actually be okay with the 8 p.m. puck drop would be today because it's nice out. Before, it's like it's been cold, it's been rainy and windy. It's like, let's get this over with. But now it's like I want to stand out here and forever and watch
and here's what I'll throw out there just as like my own general observation here, in case Gary Bettman's watching, because I know he's a big fan. I can understand the idea that there's only one game tonight. Okay, so I kind of understand the 6 o'clock start. But hey, Gares, Betty Bet, how about we split the difference? Because we've been doing games at like 5 and then 7:30, or we've been doing 5:30 and then 8. Why couldn't we have split the difference and done like a 6:30 or a 7? Why we got to be starting this? Some of you are stuck on I-25 right now, and I know that because I was just hanging out with several thousand of my closest friends on my way here. And so I feel like a later start might have been a little bit better.
Yeah, and the Denver sports fan, just the double whammy. You get the extra late start last night with the Denver Nuggets at like 8:45.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
And now, to your point, there's traffic. I mean, who's going to be able to sit down and watch this game at 6 p.m.?
Like, let's peel back the curtain here for just a second. Jokic came out at what time last night to the podium finally?
12:30, I think it was.
12:30
in the morning.
morning.
It was bad.
Now, for some of you, that's like the start of a normal evening, like you're on your way to the gin mill. But for the rest of us, that's late. Okay?
Very late.
So let's hope that what we're doing is a bit of an early celebration. If we are going to have the pre-kend, as whatever that word is that you just made up, if we're going to have that, then I want it to be in association with a victory here at number 38 in Rhino. Let's talk about what happened on Monday.
Bad, all bad.
Let's talk briefly, because I don't want to really get into a whole bunch of it with Val Nichushkin.
Sad.
It's a sad story. More than anything else,
it's sad.
I want people to recognize that it is a sad story. I would be willing to bet that you, like me, have had people in your life or in your family, close, distant, whatever it is, that deal with addiction problems, that have dealt with abuse, that have dealt with things like that. And it is an illness. It just is. And I know that Jared Bednar postgame said we're not using it as an excuse. We're treating it like an injury. And I understand that, and that's probably the best way to be able to look at it, because I'm sorry, I don't care, who wants to try to throw shade. It's the equivalent of an injury.
It is.
He's broken, and he needs to get fixed. And I know everything that happened last year. I know that the team took a second chance on him, and he's let them down. And I think that'll be reflected in the future. And that's the conversation you can have about the team part of it. But I also want to make sure that we address the human part of it, which is that the man's broken and needs help.
Yeah, there's things much larger than sports,
Yes.
and this is obviously one of those dynamics. And from the X's and O's perspective, though, as we're getting ready here for a pivotal do-or-die game here for the Colorado Avalanche.
By the way, requirement to say pivotal before anytime you talk about
Pivotal.
Game 5.
Yes, absolutely.
But
I mean, that's the thing is, I feel like with that news coming out, I had heard some stuff earlier in the day as well. It was just kind of like shell shock.
Yes.
Right? Like it was just kind of like out of nowhere. He was hot since he had come back from his previous, stint with dealing with this sickness. And then obviously red hot going into the postseason. It just felt like they got the wind taken out of their sails with that news. So we'll see if they can respond. Had a day to kind of clear their minds, get back on track. I know our guy, Arif Dean, who's out there in Dallas right now, caught up with Josh Manson, caught up with Druin among some of the other players. And, it did feel like they were maybe subconsciously affected by the news that had come out that day, but you know what it is now, so let's keep moving forward.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's how you have to do it. It's how the team has to do it. And, I mean, look, had it happened on an off day, I'm not saying it would have been any better, but at least you would have had, if you were
hours
his teammates,
before the game.
If you were his teammates, you would have had 24 hours to process it. As
Right.
a coaching staff, you would have had 24 hours to say, here's what we're going to do with the lines. Here's how we're going to shuffle things. Here's where this person belongs and that person belongs. That's going to maximize how we're going to rotate coming in and over the wall.
Right.
And you didn't have that, even though Jared Bednar said that he was made aware of it after morning skate. You're still, to your point that you just said, you're still talking about hours. You're not talking about even a day.
Yeah.
Just sit and think about how you want to prepare your team and what you want to do to try to stay competitive.
Yeah, exactly. And at the end of the day, like, as I mentioned as well, like this is a critical component to your team. And look, if this is a guy in the third line or whatever, like obviously it's still a sickness, it's all that kind of stuff, but it's happening to a guy that if the Colorado Avalanche have really any realistic chance to win the Stanley Cup, you're going to need Valeri Nichushkin to be a part of that team, and obviously suspended for 6 months, potentially longer. We'll see what happens here. And I think the question is, and I forget if it was you and I talking about this today at the studio,
right,
or something I saw on social media. We saw last night on the basketball court, Nikola Jokic, the best player in the world today, go into takeover mode. Can Nathan MacKinnon do the same thing for the Avalanche tonight and help lead them to this
That's
victory?
actually one of the first questions I want to ask. Here's the other thing I'm going to do. I'm going to move over because we're not square in the shot right now. I don't know who's producing this thing, but they're doing a terrible job.
We got a fan of producer.
Anyway, no, I think it's a legit question, and here's why I'm concerned. I will tell you right now, if given a vote, and yes, I am biased as hell, Nathan MacKinnon's the best player on the planet right now.
I would agree.
And if you're not willing to say that, I believe if you are a true hockey fan, you would at least allow me the space to say that he is in the top 5, if not the top 3. And if you wanted to build a top 3, you could say that it is Austin Matthews, Connor McDavid, and Nathan MacKinnon.
Yep.
Okay? So if you don't want to go with me that he's the best player, I think he's had the best season. I think he is a shoe-in for the Hart. But if not, you're at least going to give me, if you're watching this from somewhere else, you're in Edmonton right now spying on the Avs, you're at least going to give me that, okay? You're at least going to give me that much. But through the first 4 games, how much time on the clock have the Avs had the lead? 0.
Yeah, not a lot.
0. No, it's literally a 0.
Yeah, literally 0.
The only time they've had the lead was Miles Wood winning it in overtime.
Yes.
Dallas has led, or it's been tied, for every minute of the first 3 games, okay? The Avs have not carried a lead, which also means that if you want God mode out of MacKinnon, which is what is needed right now, if you want God mode out of him, however they've done it, and I've got some theories on how they've done it and how they're doing things, the Dallas Stars have figured out how to neutralize him and do the equivalent of what we talk about in football, with Bill Belichick. They have taken away the Avs' most important weapon, and they have said, if you're going to beat us, you've got to do it with somebody else.
Yeah, and obviously when Nathan MacKinnon is, for lack of a better phrase, the dog of your team, and kind of sets that tone, sets that energy, plays with that toughness, and you don't have Gabriel Landeskog, and you don't have Valeri Nichushkin, it's one of those situations where it's like things compounding on top of each other. Look, you got to tip your cap to the Dallas game plan here, specifically after that Game 1 loss, but at the end of the day, you're down 2 of your other big-time players. The focal point of the opposition is going to be on your best player, MacKinnon, so you look to guys like Cale Makar, who could step up. You look to guys like Miles Wood, obviously, who had the overtime goal. Other guys are going to have to step up. The one guy that I definitely have my eye on as well, just because he had such a fantastic first series against the Winnipeg Jets, is Casey Middlestat. You want to talk about just an excellent presence at kind of setting the tone offensively, whether it was with the pass or the shot. You need somebody else that's not named Nathan MacKinnon to be able to inject some life into this team throughout this game and score the first goal. Scoring the first goal is pivotal.
Yeah, I would really like to see them score first. I think the thing that it comes down to for me, you want to talk about Cale, you want to talk about Middlestat, and a number of the other players. I think one of the things that Dallas has been able to do, in part in neutralizing Mac, but in also in terms of their play, and in particular in the neutral zone, not only are they saying, okay, we need somebody else to be able to beat you, they are bringing defensive help. They're pinning. They're doing some things that are cutting off some passing lanes, which means Mac can't even at this point turn into a distributor,
right? Because
they're even cutting that part of it off. It's got to be so frustrating for him.
It looks like it on the ice.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And so I agree with you that yes, you need a certain amount of, hold my beer and watch this out of Nathan MacKinnon. You just do. It's what you need in this game tonight. And it's what they've needed through games 1, 2, 3, and 4 as well. But until someone else poses a threat to Dallas, they're going to continue to do those kinds of things to MacKinnon until they're forced to do otherwise, right? It's I do a lot of analogies because I know some of you that are watching, some of you that pick up here with the Avs, you pick up in the postseason, right? So you don't watch it all the time. So sometimes I try to make comparisons to sports that I know people are watching. Think about college basketball in man-on-man versus zone, okay? You sit there and you play a zone defense, you play a zone defense, you play a zone defense until what happens? Dudes start knocking down outside shots.
Right.
Because now you're getting burned.
Yep, and you got to adjust.
And now you have to adjust. Until Dallas gets burned, they're going to keep doing what they've been doing. There is absolutely zero reason for the Stars to change anything about their game plan that they have had for the last week and a half.
Absolutely. And look, I know the Avalanche, took that game early in the series, with that overtime game scoring goal from Miles Wood. But without that, there's not a game being played right now, and you bring it up. The Avalanche have not led, for a single second in this game, depending on how you factor in the end of that first game with Miles Wood and whatnot. And so to your point, the old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Clearly, nothing's broke with the Dallas Stars. And at the end of the day, if they right their wrongs from game 1 as they have in the next handful of games, you got to feel pretty good about their chances.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
You really do. And the problem is that you've got, like I said, they've figured out a little bit of a formula with Mac. And look, I don't blame Dallas. That actually doesn't make MacKinnon any less of a player.
No.
They have just put so much focal attention, so much focus on him that he's now he doesn't have a choice. Okay, well, I got to do this. I got to try to dump it off. And you can see the frustration. You see those moments where he loses the puck on the back check.
Yep.
And he just sits there and he's like, son of a, like you can hear the expletives in a slight Canadian accent coming out of his head. And that to me is very frustrating. The other frustrating part to me is look at, I'll tell you what, look at game 3. Let's backtrack, not just to Monday, but to Saturday, to game 3. Georgiev looked fantastic.
Yes.
Georgie looked really, really good, but I still believe that the blue line in front of him is not doing nearly the job that they need to be doing in a playoff type of atmosphere. You can only count on your goaltender to stand on his head for so long.
Especially a guy who's been as up and down as Georgiev.
Yes. And even the best goaltenders, even Waugh, even like make your list, Brodeur, all of it. occasionally something is going to get by, whether it's because they got screened off, whether it is because the big man right in front completely blocked his vision and there was nothing you could do about it because you didn't see the shot coming from outside the circle.
Right.
Sometimes those things just happen. Just like Jamal nailing one from 55 feet. Sometimes it just happens, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Well, I think that's been the frustration with the Avalanche as well is, early on in this postseason, specifically the first game of the playoffs against Winnipeg, it felt like Georgie was going to be the reason why you couldn't go on a run. And then he's steadily improved as they've gone along. But to your point, the blue line in front of him hasn't, necessarily been, the tip top, some injuries, some different things that they're dealing with. So it feels like to me, and I like Georgiev, but you're playing a little bit with house money with how good he's been playing.
Yes.
And it's like I don't want to wish anything bad on this Avalanche team, but there's a chance that he blows up. There's a chance that there's a flare-off game. Obviously, you can't afford to have that tonight, but that's why it's so important for them to be locked in, focused from the jump, and try to set the tone against this Dallas team now on the road.
Yeah, and I think they will come out with that. We know the shot total on Monday night was terrible through the first period.
Gosh.
The Avs had 2.
I think Bednar said they were like a dead team walk-in or something. I was editing Eric's video today.
Yeah, and I just really believe that getting that news that they got about Taves being sick. Okay.
Yeah, that happens.
The news that they got about Val. I said Lekin in there. I apologize. The news they got about the news they got about Nichushkin. I think really did just sort of smack them upside the head. I think it was a sucker punch that nobody saw coming, and it took a lot of life out of them. And by the time you started to feel like they were coming to life, it was too late.
Yep.
Right? It's like, the Nuggets in the first round could let the Lakers get up because they knew they could catch them. They just did.
Right.
Like the analogy that our friend Mark Knutson wrote about. I mean, the Nuggets were kind of playing with their food. Like, oh, this is fun. Look at this. And then, I guess we should probably win this game. Okay, here we go. Right? Like they just all of a sudden engaged. Well, against a team like Dallas, you can't do that. Not against the Dallas Stars. This is a talented team. There's a reason that they finished at the top of the division. This is a very, very talented team, and they're not going to if you catch them once, you're probably not going to catch them twice. So you need, in terms of catching them in a mistake. So
yes.
you cannot count on that to be something that you can just lean into here over the course of the next 3 games. At the same time, you also can't be thinking about the fact that it's 3 games. You need to be thinking about that right now it is 60 minutes at the American Airlines Center, and that's all you need to be thinking about. And then if you get the job done, then you think about Friday. You cannot think about the fact that it's 3-1. I'm sorry to use the coach speak, but you've got to have the tunnel vision.
No, I completely agree. I mean, that's the thing, because when you start thinking too far ahead is when you take your foot off the gas or you let outside circumstance. There is no game, 6 if there's not a win in game 5. And so I agree with you. You kind of have to just lock in with that tunnel vision, to your point, and just focus on what's ahead of you. And I think that's the biggest thing, right? Because I did not think offensive execution would be a major issue potentially in this series just based off how they open up the playoffs.
Right.
And then you've got all these different factors that are playing in. But at the end of the day, we know this Avalanche team is very capable of playing a certain style. They just look like that cold version of them that we saw in the middle of the regular season. They've got to flip the switch because it's do or die time now.
Yeah. I mean, you're on the verge of losing 4 in a row, which they did earlier in the regular season.
Yep.
They went through that stretch where they lost 4 games in a row. They didn't quite look right. People were like, oh, shoot, what's going on? Well, that's where we are right now, except the stakes are a hell of a lot higher because when it happened to them in the regular season, they still had 2.5 months to go or something like that. So you had plenty of time to fix what was broken and get back on the train tracks that you belong on.
Yeah, and I'm curious now because, I'm a sucker for the championship pedigree, and I know that Landeskog's not there, but you have guys on this roster that know what it's like to kind of weather the storm. And look, I know Dallas is a great team. You mentioned the record and whatnot. They've got a tenured head coach as well in DeBoer, and at the end of the day, this is not going to be easy, but to your point, you've got the best player in the world in ice hockey right now. Go out and do something with that. Yeah. He's got to help set the tone. Bednar as well. I know he's Mr. Cool, Calm, Collected on the sideline, but something has got to light a fire under this team. And you know what? Maybe now that they've had some time to deal with the Nichushkin situation and having a day removed and getting whooped in that game, maybe they play a little pissed tonight. I think that's what you have to do is obviously you have the confidence in yourself as a team collectively, but maybe you need to just come out with a little bit of that bite. And take the game to Dallas, get a little physical, get amped up, and show them that you're not going to just roll over.
Yeah, which Jamal and company did in Game 3 in Minneapolis at the Target Center.
Right.
They did. They came out a little pissed off. They came out a little pissed off because they were embarrassed in Game 2. And I don't want to say that the Avs were embarrassed per se in Game 4, but you just came back home with, one of the best home records you could ask for.
Right.
And you got punked on your home ice 2 games in a row, including a really ugly one on Monday where you looked terrible. You looked like ass.
I wasn't there, but my buddy was there with a couple of his friends as well, and he told me that the atmosphere was just dead.
Yeah,
like from the moment the game started.
And believe me, the Dallas crowd tonight is going to be into
it. Yeah.
The Dallas crowd tonight is going to be loud, and the best possible way that you can deal with that is to come out and punch first. Do not wait to be punched. Do not wait for somebody to throw a swing and then try to sneak one in. Just throw the first punch.
Right.
And I believe that if you do that right, you can get Dallas a little bit concerned, because I think at some point you can get to that roster and get to that bench and have them say, oh, shoot, these guys are coming to play tonight, and maybe they get a little bit tight. I'll also tell you this. Damn it, they need something. They need puck luck tonight. The Avs need at least one thing to happen tonight that would be categorized as puck luck. I'm convinced of that. Whether that is a goal that goes in that maybe shouldn't have, maybe that is a goal that should have gone against, that for some reason trickles the right way or hits the post the right way. I think they need some sort of luck piece to kick in order for them to feel like, okay, we needed a break, right? Because if they sit back and they go, oh, we didn't catch a break with Nichushkin. Oh, we didn't catch a break with Landy's rehab. Oh, we didn't catch a break with Taves being sick on Monday. Sometimes you just kind of need a little, hey, you got this.
Yeah,
a little pat on the back, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes that comes in the form of something like puck luck.
No, I think it's a great point. And, I know there's no way to kind of quantify that necessarily as we're getting ready for puck drop here in Dallas, broadcasting live from number 38. But when it's all said and done here, law of averages to a certain extent. You get dealt all those BS hands, and I know it's not all hockey related with Nichushkin, the sickness and all that other kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, a lot of bad just happened to them in the last game. Let's see some good happen to them tonight.
Yeah, I think they need to be able to do that. I almost hate to make a fearless forecast because I don't have because frankly I don't have a good feeling about this game tonight. And I feel like for example, those of you know that I sit around and do a lot of sports betting. This is not a game. This is not a game that I have any bets in play. Not a single one.
Interesting.
Because I'm not quite sure what to expect. I believe in what the Avs are capable of doing, of coming out and getting a 1-goal lead. And if Dallas turns around and responds, turning around and responding right back to them, this team is capable of doing it. And it might be that it needs to come from some strange places. It may need to come from a guy like Zach Parise. It may need to come from some guys that aren't necessarily Kale or Mac or Miko. It may need to come from somewhere else. And I think some of the success that we can see, even on the other 6 teams that are in the playoffs right now, some of it is coming from people that are off the grid, if you want to put it that way. Guys like Dakota Joshua, who's earning himself a hell of a salary right now.
Well, and that's one of
how he's performing.
That's one of those situations. Our colleague Eric Goodman put it out on Twitter a couple weeks ago. Of he's heard from some players, that have been in and around the NHL. You win regular season games with your top 2 lines. You win playoff games with your depth.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you're going to get max effort from McKinnon, McCarr, all that kind of stuff. But to your point, who's going to be the unsung hero that steps up?
Yeah.
And I hate to draw the parallel with the Nuggets all the time, but look at Justin Holiday. Look at Christian Brown. This is not Nikola Jokic. This is not Aaron Gordon. This is not Michael Porter Jr.
Well, and look at last year, Bruce Brown.
Exactly.
I mean, it's sometimes it just comes
That's how
from,
it goes.
It comes from other places. So, everybody here at number 38, there's a great crowd, lots of sweaters in attendance. I see Landy, I see Mac, I see Miko, I see Kale, I see plenty of jerseys and sweaters out here of the Avs fans. So you and I have to get to the point of stopping talking because they got to turn the sound on for the broadcast. Our friend Steve Levy is on the call for ESPN tonight. Folks, enjoy it. A reminder, I know Aniello mentioned it before. Our man, Arif Dean, is on the ground in Dallas at the game. So win or lose, you are going to get firsthand reaction of what happens in the locker room in Dallas. And hopefully we are getting ready for a Game 6 on Friday night at Ball Arena. But nonetheless, it's been a fun ride. Let's get things rocking again. Thanks to our friends at number 38, to our friends at New Belgium and Mountain Time. Make sure you come out and enjoy the games. If you can't be here tonight, remember we are here tomorrow night as the Nuggets will look to close things out in Minneapolis. So a lot going on here at number 38. But for now, he is Aniello Piro. My name is Nate Lundy. We are with Mile High Sports. Make sure you're following us. Make sure you smash that subscribe button on YouTube. And we will see you again tomorrow night for Nuggets and T-Wolves.
Waiting.